Wow, what we see today is a blend of tragedy and comedy. Look, that boy's happily playing with coins on the rooftop. The security noticed and immediately shouted a warning, but the boy just laughed it off like it was a joke. He turned around and hurled the coin, and suddenly a strong wind swooped in, making the coin's flight path mysteriously veer off. The coin slid down the hole and got stuck in the vent, just as the restaurant's music started playing. Talk about ridiculous timing. Everyone in the restaurant was lost in laughter, and Alice and the newly engaged Paul joined in. The dance floor was like a wild. The restaurant began to shake, but nobody noticed the support beams were in trouble, and those cracks in the glass floor started to multiply. As the shaking intensified, the coin on ankle loosened and shot out like a little bullet, popping open a gas line. But the faint hiss was masked by music. Dancers didn't know danger neared in New York. In this world, death never gives discounts. Once you're on the list, even the safest spots can't save you. On the contrary, those off the list stay unscathed. Paul's on it, Alice nearby but powerless. After the glass shattered, Paul fell, and suddenly everyone screamed and scrambled for the exits. In chaos, crowds toppled the chef's pots, flames erupted instantly. A woman shrieked in despair, sprinting forward, but death never plays by chance. She ignited the leaking gas at the perfect moment, and that coin reflected a sinister smile from the flames, engulfing half the restaurant in an instant. Thankfully, Alice ducked behind a table to dodge disaster. At this point, the restaurant looked like a disaster zone, with an old man shoving Alice aside in his desperate bid to escape. The fleeing boy jumped into the fray too, and everyone rushed for the stairs, only to find out surprise. The boy was the only survivor. The stairs collapsed, forcing Alice to find another way. A crowd rushed into the only elevator. It filled up quickly. As Alice was to board, a gentleman pushed her away, and the overcrowded group wrecked the elevator. Alice screamed in terror as the restaurant turned into a raging inferno behind her. It was like the sounds of despair were echoing around her. She coughed from smoke, suddenly saw glasses tip over and bottles roll wildly. At this moment, the ceiling gave a huge crack, and a portion of the restaurant began to plummet, making everyone inside slide like they were on a giant slide. Fortunately, the glass was tough enough to stop those sliding down. Alice fought to climb to safety, but the woman behind her was. She slid down, and unluckily, the cracking restaurant paused briefly, with the piano dangling on the brink. At this moment, death showtime started, as the coin perfectly landed on one side of the piano like it was performing in a little theatre. The piano lost its balance, crashing down and shattering the glass, while that little boy ran out laughing. In the end, that coin was safely back in the wishing well. The restaurant was left half destroyed, with only Alice surviving, and she looked at her ring, feeling a mix of emotions. Surprise was still around. She saw the singer's child, rushed to pick him up, but another surprise struck. Alice leaped with the boy, narrowly dodging another disaster, yet getting up became a serious challenge. As time passed, fate seemed to be playing games, and down they went again, with a scream that connected to the scene in a college class. Fast forward 56 years, and college student Fanny found herself haunted by the nightmare of the ceiling restaurant's collapse whenever she tried to close her eyes. This nightmare impacted Fanny's daily life, and those screams were so loud they drove everyone insane. She was stuck in quite the pickle too. She found Alice in her dreams, had her grandma's name, yet never met her or knew her parents' origins. Her parents were equally in the dark, determined to uncover the truth. Fanny faced nightmares even on her drive home. At this time, Fanny was drained, her skin in a terrible state. Seeing Dad Marty and Brother Charlie at home weighed on her heart. Years ago, her mom left suddenly. No nuisance. Fanny sought her mother's album. Off they went to their cousin's house, with Fanny sharing her nightmare tales with Charlie, though he didn't seem too concerned. She revealed her recurring nightmares, which surprised her brother slightly, but he shrugged it off. Soon they reached their uncle's house, and when Fanny inquired about Grandma Alice, her uncle seemed quite displeased. After some persistent questioning from Fanny, her uncle reluctantly shared that Alice had 2 kids, one of them her mother Linda, but had always been overprotective. The kids thought Alice had some mental issues, never mentioning her name, and certainly wouldn't want Fanny to seek her out. However, after Fanny's persistence, her aunt clandestinely gave her a letter from Alice, and inside was a photo of the 2 figures from her dreams. Based on the address on the envelope, Fanny drove alone into the mountains, and Alice's house resembled a fortress, with defences galore. Cut off from the world, she was cautious with visitors, only relaxing upon learning it was her granddaughter Fanny. Alice told Fanny to leave her phone and keys outside before opening the door, and upon seeing her granddaughter plagued by nightmares, she finally revealed the horrifying truth of that day. It turned out that when Paul proposed on the restaurant rooftop, she sensed disaster looming, and everyone present was fated to face it. Alice acted fast, snatched the coin from the boy, preventing further imbalance, then dashed to the kitchen. She sprinted downstairs, covered the pan with a lid, then grabbed the mic on stage, ignoring security's warnings. She shouted to evacuate the dance floor. People then noticed the cracked glass. Luckily, no harm occurred. Alice saved hundreds. Since then, the restaurant has been closed, but Alice said Death's plan was disrupted that day. She still adhered to the rules, and those survivors and their descendants kept meeting their untimely ends in various accidents, including